This is the vlog for December 24th, 2018, and it's Christmas Eve, and here I am by myself. This is a new one for me. As I've said probably many times this week, I've always spent Christmas with my folks, my parents. I didn't always have both of them. My dad was a pilot, and before he had seniority at the multiple airlines for which he flew, he would sometimes be called upon to be flying on Christmas, which necessitated some sort of flexible traditions. The most notable of which was one year when we had Christmas early so as to sort of allow my dad to be there. I think I was maybe 6 or 5 years old. But we just, we did our Christmas dinner probably on the 23rd. We opened presents. One year Dad had to leave the day of Christmas. That was kind of a surprise. So we got woken up very early, extra early, so that we could do our morning Christmas unwrapping while he was still there, and then he had to leave before 8 o'clock, I believe. And getting up at 5 in the morning or even earlier is not something that has been uncommon. Even when we got a little bit older and Dad could stay home for Christmas, we would, I would end up usually waking everybody else up because I love presents so much. I really loved getting gifts as a kid. I loved getting stuff. I loved having stuff. I still do. It's sort of a weakness of my character, and I'll be the first to admit it. And it goes into how I was sort of raised to consider greed of this nature to be sort of untoward and impolite. The British might say boorish. And so I do my best to keep it in check. And one thing that helps is being generous. And a funny thing happened this morning. So I got up very early, 4:30, so that I could take my parents to the airport. My dad was very helpful in making sure I was in the right lane. Navigating through an airport is not easy, but having somebody that knows that route is very helpful. And given that he was a pilot, he's been down there a few times. So I dropped them off. No fuss, no muss. They got on the plane at 8:05 and arrived in Washington, D.C., miraculously, at about 12:45. So I think they must have left early, because that should be a 5-hour flight, not 4 hours and 45 minutes. But maybe they just had the right wind behind them. And they went to stay with they went to my sister's to, celebrate Christmas Eve with them. But the big day is tomorrow, and that's when my mom will undoubtedly be cooking a huge meal for them. But when I came home today, I didn't feel like getting back into bed. I stopped at Starbucks and got coffee, and that kind of woke me up. And I started playing Warframe. I started doing orb heists to build up rep that I could turn in to get stuff from Vox Solaris. And the orb heist fights are not my strong thing. A lot of people use Chroma now, and I've never been very good at Chroma. I don't know exactly what I need to do to play Chroma well. But I see people do tons and tons of damage with them, so somebody's doing it right. So what I usually do is I bring Nija or Niza, and I just clean out the trash and make sure that they're spitting up as many health and energy orbs as possible to keep everybody else in the group up, topped, and healthy. And it's worked pretty well. And a guy I was with sort of recognized this, and he said, "Come on, let's keep going." So I said, "Do another one?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he just apparently liked my positivity and the fact that I was doing a job that a lot of people ignore during those fights that make it a lot easier. And while he was the one definitely doing the heavy lifting and carrying the whole fight, I was cleaning out the trash, and we did at least 4 runs, I think. And he wanted to keep going, but I said, I've got stuff I need to do today. And I'm glad that I stopped. I had lunch, and miraculously, It really is a Christmas miracle. The sun came out. The sky was nearly completely cloudless at around noon. And I went for a walk at about 11 o'clock and got back just before 2 o'clock, I believe. And it was just so pretty today. Very unlike what I'm used to on Christmas. Growing up in Minnesota, I was used to having snow on the ground, and Christmas Day was sort of a day to open presents and then go out and play with the other kids and show off what we'd got and play with what we got with each other, or go out and play in the snow. And around here, partly because I was older and partly because I didn't know anybody and partly because there wasn't any snow, it was a much more familial thing. It was much more stay with your family and just sort of stay in for the day. And usually because it was raining. Not today. Today it was gorgeous. It was cold, low 40s, but in the sun it was absolutely fantastic. It felt like it was 50 degrees. It was beautiful. So eventually I went back to playing this afternoon, and lo and behold, even though the event is technically over, this guy gifted me a 3-Forma pack as a way of thank you for helping him out with the orb heists and apparently doing a really good job. So I couldn't let that slide. I turned right around and gifted him 6 weapon slots, roughly the same price, and wished him a happy Tenno-Bomb. And there are good people in the world. There are people that just enjoy your company and recognize when you are doing your best and reward you for it, and that feels great. And on this night when I am by myself in an empty house, having turned off all the lights and being quite tired from getting up so early and walking around all day, I wish you a happy holiday, however you want to spend it, whatever holiday you want to have. I hope you have a nice one, and I hope you have family or friends to tell happy holidays to as well. I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.